Part 6. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bha 11U. Chapter 53. Su Qingmei was relieved when she heard him asking about LV Bachan. Reading. In this era, if a woman wants to come out and do business, she will be criticized. Unless there is no labor at home and the man is incompetent. Otherwise, the man will lose face. So Su Qingmei used LV Bachan as an excuse. Sure enough, Father Lu still had a stern face and looked very serious just now. Now when he heard that she was planning for Bachan, his face softened a lot. Su Qingmei thought for a while and said, "He told me to wait for him at home and he would come back alive. I also believe he will come back. If he has a promising future, I also want to help him behind the scenes, at least don't let him be in trouble and look at other people's faces in terms of money. I want to do my part as a wife for him." Father Lu was very moved when he heard this. He didn't expect that the woman he chose for Bachan was still a good one. He said softly, "Doing business is not like what you imagined. There are many difficulties that others can't imagine or understand. You should take good care of the dozen acres of land of his grandparents. It is enough for you to spend. Dad still takes care of the money." Su Qingmei shook her head. "Bachan told me that my eldest brother is talented in studying and will take a career in the future, which will cost a lot of money. Besides, my younger brother is also smart and studying is good. He and I don't want to increase the burden on the family." "Ah, he said that. Usually he and his eldest brother are at loggerheads, and they don't take each other seriously. They are very unfriendly." Lu Shenkei was a little surprised. "It's not unfriendly, but it can't be said." He said, "Usually, the two brothers were just playing around. Now that he's gone, I don't know if he can come back. What he misses most is his family, after all, they are related by blood." Su's father agreed, "That's right, blood-related people miss each other the most. When I think of my eldest son who doesn't know how to live or die, my heart is like a knife. I can't sleep with his mother at night because of him. Look at my nephew, his eldest brother also passed away 2 years ago, and now he doesn't know whether he is alive or dead." Su's father's eyes were red when he mentioned Su Qing's song, and Zhou Dejiang also lowered his head. Lu's father was quite touched, and his heart softened a lot when he thought of Lu Bachan. He also thought about Su Qing's idea of opening a shop. Since she has the idea, let her try it, and she will be content if she loses money. He asked her some more questions and found out that the rent had not been paid yet, and gave Su Qing's 10 taels of silver in front of Su's father. Su Qing's father didn't want it, but Lu's father insisted. Whether he said he missed his eldest son who was far away, or he wanted to express his attitude in front of Su's father, Su Qing'an refused. Su Qing'an had no choice but to accept it. "Your father-in-law is so open-minded. You must respect him and your mother-in-law in the future, fulfill your filial piety, and be careful to fulfill your duties as a daughter-in-law, and wait for Bachan to come back." Su's father took the opportunity to teach Su Qing'an a lesson. Su Qing'an bowed her head and agreed, expressing her attitude in front of her father. After talking for a while, they left the shop. The three of them were walking on the road, and Father Su was still a little worried. "My daughter, do you really want to open a shop?" Su Qing'an looked at her father with a reproachful look. "Dad, I have rented the shop and hired someone to decorate it, and you are still asking. You are really bold, child. You have rented the shop and hired someone to decorate it, but you haven't told your in-laws yet. If he finds out first and gets angry, how will you end it? If he doesn't let you open the shop, can you still argue with him or run away from home?" After being told by Father Su, Su Qing'an really felt that she was not thoughtful enough. "Dad, I know I was wrong. Can't I discuss things with you in advance in the future? You, child, once you get married to the town, your heart becomes wild." Seeing Su Qing'an's indifferent look, he sighed and asked again, have you thought about the source of goods for your shop? How are you going to receive the goods and how are you going to transport them? Not yet. Sue's father nodded at her with his hand. You child. You rent a shop without thinking it through. You rent a shop and leave it vacant without solving these problems. Day after day, isn't it money? Sue's father was a little anxious. It's not that I haven't thought about it, I'm not thinking about it, Dad, you came Suching and was afraid that he would say more, so she said to him with a smile. Sue's father was so angry that he lost his temper, pointed at her repeatedly with his fingers, and couldn't say anything. Cousin, this is not difficult. I will go back to help you ask in our village and nearby villages. When the goods are received, they will be transported together. Zhou Dejiang listened for a while and suddenly said. Suching looked at him with some surprise. This cousin is quite spiritual. Just as she was about to speak, Sue's father rejected her. Your village is too far from Fenting town. It's not cost-effective to transport it here. After thinking for a while, he said, Dad will help you ask in our village and nearby villages. Tell Dad everything you want and Dad will help you find it when he goes back. Thank you, Dad. But I need at least one more person in my store. I want to ask my sister to help me. Dad, do you think it's okay? Your sister? Sue's father was a little surprised. Seeing Suching nodded, he fell silent. After a while, he shook his head. I'm afraid it won't work. I'm afraid that family won't let your sister out to enjoy the good life in the town. They are counting on your sister to work at home. Dad really regrets that he didn't stop your grandma at the beginning. Isn't it because my family sold the land and borrowed money to marry my sister? When the time comes, my sister's monthly salary will be taken back from them, and they will pay a few more taels. I don't believe they won't let my sister out. Besides, my sister's parents-in-law are gone, and my brother-in-law has worked hard for the family. We should have divided the family long ago. I wish you thought so, Father sighed. Then I don't care, I have to give it a try. Dad, look at my sister like this. She's only 20, but she's already more than 10 years older. Don't you and my mother feel bad when you see her? Sue's father's eyes turned red when he mentioned Su Qingliu. Why don't I feel sorry for you? Your mother sheds tears when she thinks of your sister at night. They are all her own flesh and blood, so why don't you feel sad for her? Dad, please come with me to see my sister tomorrow. You can also have a nice talk with my brother-in-law and grandma and take the opportunity to take my sister out. Is this possible? Sue's father asked uncertainly. I have to give it a try. I miss Yaya too and want to see her. Besides, if I ask someone, my sister, for help, won't you and my mother feel more at ease? You child, why don't you discuss this with your family first? The matter was settled, and Su Qingyu was impatient to talk any more, so she said, it's settled. Dad, I'll wait for you at the entrance of the town early tomorrow morning. No, Dad will go to your house to find you when he arrives, so that you don't have to stand at the entrance of the town to blow off the wind. Okay. It's settled then. After a few more words, the three of them separated. Zhou Dejiang walked home with the wind at his feet, his heart bubbling with beauty. He is going to Fenting town to work as a waiter for his cousin. He must learn his skills well, help his cousin, and not let his cousin worry. With the monthly money, Dad can treat his leg with peace of mind. He can stay at home, take care of Jinhai, and play with him. Living is better than anything else. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bha Xiaoye 11U. Chapter 54. At night, Sue's father told Sue's mother about today's events, and Sue's mother also sighed at Su Qingnao's courage. Why do you think this girl became so courageous as soon as she got married in the town? I've never seen her so arrogant before. Sue's father was silent and said, maybe Bocheng left and she wanted to make plans for herself. She has a little daughter-in-law living under the eyes of her parents-in-law, and she also wants to have something close to her. It's not like in our village in town. Eating and drinking all cost money, and people who don't have wells have to buy water. Isn't it Bocheng's grandfather's land? The rent collected is enough for her to eat and drink. Sue's mother still didn't want her to take risks. She has enough to eat and drink alone. What if she has a child? And we are just foraging in the fields. Don't we know what the fields produce? What if the year is bad and the rent cannot be collected? You ask her to reach out and follow. My in-laws want to spend money. She wants to open a shop, and my in-laws don't object, so it doesn't matter if she can't do it. With us here, she won't be hungry. Mother Su sighed, it would be great if King Liu had as many ideas as she does. Sue's father also sighed, tomorrow I will go to her house to talk to her grandparents. If she can come to the town, the two sisters can be together and take care of each other. Yaya has grown up like this, and I am afraid of that child. Can't raise it. Bah, 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 what nonsense are you talking about? Hurry up, Mother Su pulled him away anxiously. Father Su quickly sighed. Then tell her family tomorrow that King Liu will use her wages to compensate them for the money she spent that year. That night, there was another couple talking about Su Qingyu. Lu Shenke closed the account books from the study, and as soon as he returned to his room, Wu came forward to serve him diligently. Have you met Sue's father today? Yeah, Lu Shenke responded while taking off his outer clothes. Why did he come to you, to borrow money? No, he came home first today. Why don't you meet your in-laws? Wu's servant paused and said, I am a woman, and I am going to see my husband. What better way to go? Why is this a foreign man? Bocheng's father-in-law, a serious relative. We are not from a wealthy family and we have to avoid suspicion. And forget it, why doesn't Yuzha come out to meet her sister-in-law's father? Why does the older he gets, the less polite he becomes? Let her sister-in-law think what she thinks. Mrs. Wu curled her lips, it was not her biological daughter-in-law. Yuzhu and Lu Bachan were not born from the same mother. Help Lu Yuzhu think of the reason. Yuzhu, her stomach is not feeling well today, and the woman's menstruation is coming. I can't let her go out. I heard that Sue's cousin is also here, and she wants to avoid suspicion, so I will let her go. Went. After hearing this, Lu Shenke said nothing more. After being served by Mrs. Wu, she washed her hands and face, and after going to bed, she said to Mrs. Wu, it seems that Yuzhuan has reached the age of marriage. I don't know if there will be another draft next year, but you still have to show her early family affairs. I know, keep an eye out. If the flesh from my body doesn't hurt her, it's just you. He punched Lu Shenke angrily, and Lu Shenke grabbed his little hand in his palm. Wu leaned into his arms and asked the question just now, Sue's father didn't come to you to borrow money? Then what is he here for? Lu Shenke remembered that Su Qingyu looked like she was planning for Bocheng today, so she was not going to tell Wu about her eldest uncle, and she also planned to hide the 5 taels of silver. Mrs. Wu took money a little seriously, and he was afraid that Mrs. Wu would look down on Su Qingyu. Bocheng was away, and he also wanted peace at home. Then he said, whoever comes to see me, you think they are here to borrow money. My father-in-law is afraid that I will not agree to my daughter-in-law opening a shop, so I come to put in good words for her. When Mrs. Wu heard this, she hurriedly sat up from Lu Shenke's arms. Ah, Mr. Su wants to open a shop. What kind of shop? Last time you said you wanted to open a branch shop, are you asking Mr. Su to open it? Then I cannot ye. Lu Shenke glanced at her and said, no, she has her own ideas. I said before that I wanted to open a branch, but I haven't thought about it yet. Mrs. Wu quietly breathed a sigh of relief, then what kind of shop is she going to open? Did you agree? She is a woman who is out in public, and she wants to learn how men do business. Bocheng is not here, and she is not at home to stay well and go out to show off, don't you worry. Why should I worry about this? She is not that kind of woman. I am afraid that she will not be able to do business. Business is not that easy. I worked as a salesman for many years before I opened a shop in the town. There are many twists and turns in the process, but all others see is the glory of opening a business and making money. Wu frowned and listened. After a while, he said, whether she is that kind of woman, you can't tell from her appearance. And we can't follow her when she is outside. She will do something that will disgrace our family and embarrass Bocheng, which will also be detrimental to our family. It's not easy for us to open that shop. Don't be affected by it and have no customers. Then you are thinking too much. Customers only choose what they need. Wherever they have what they need, they will buy it wherever the price is low. That's not what you said. When she makes a fool of herself, our whole family will be affected. It will be difficult for you Zhibozu and the others to get married. Do you really agree with her to open a shop? What should you do if something goes wrong? Don't you have to solve it? But what is she going to do? She just rented the shop. You will know what she is doing after a while. Where did she get the money to open the shop? Wu asked reluctantly. Bocheng gave her the money he saved. How can Bocheng save so much money? Did you give it to him? How much can I give him? If I give him a little during the holidays, there won't be much left for him to be lavish. Su's business is a small business, and it doesn't cost much to get the goods. There is no need to stock up on goods, and they can sell them as they come. Rent them now. The rent for the shop hasn't been paid to them yet, but they said they would wait for 2 months to start the business. Wu didn't believe it. How could such a good thing happen? Do you believe this too? How could there be such a boss? Isn't this a waste of money? Whether you believe it or not, just ask Renya and you will know. She has no reason to lie. This is also her luck. She probably doesn't have much money on her. Mrs. Wu looked in disbelief. The daughter of a farm gourmet hired by 50 liang from the countryside was going to open a shop. The dowry is nothing valuable. Where does the money come from? Lu Bochen spent money lavishly and probably didn't save much money. Lu Shenke must have given him money when that kid left. Wu shook Lu Shenke. When Bocheng left, did you give him money? Lu Shenke frowned. How could I have so much money to give him? After saying that, he turned around and lay down facing inward. Mrs. Wu looked at his back and still didn't believe it. Then where did she get the money to open a shop? Didn't I say that Bocheng left some money for her, and she didn't pay the rent for her shop, so she doesn't need a few dollars? Lu Shenke said in a somewhat impatient tone. I don't believe it. She doesn't have the guts to open a shop and do business if she doesn't have a lot of money. I've already said it's a small business. I don't have much capital, and I can only make a hard-earned amount of money in a month. What kind of business is so easy to do? You won't know in a few days. Tell me now. I don't know yet, but she hasn't started doing business yet. Are you still asleep? I have to go to the countryside to collect goods tomorrow. Lu Shenke closed his eyes impatiently. Seeing that he had pulled up the quilt and slept, Mrs. Wu angrily slapped his arched back and lay down sullenly. Not feeling sleepy at all, his eyes were twinkling. Is Su going to open a shop? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bha Xiaoye 11U. Chapter 55. The next day, Mrs. Wu got up early and wanted to go find Su Qingnao to ask for details. Unexpectedly, Su Qingnao didn't even eat breakfast and went out, but she didn't meet him. Reading made her sulky. Father. Sue's father was walking towards Luzai on West Street when he heard Sukingyu calling him halfway and stopped in a hurry. "Didn't I ask you to wait at home? You have to come out to have some fresh air." Sukingyu walked up to him with a smile, took his arm, and pulled him to a small noodle stall. Sue's father refused. Hey, Dad has eaten at home. Why don't you have another bowl after eating? We've walked such a long way. Besides, I haven't eaten yet. Dad, please accompany me to eat some more. Shopkeeper, bring me a bowl of wontons and a bowl of broth noodles. Okay, come right away. Sue's father felt warm in his heart. You kid, if you want any broth noodles, Dad can just have plain noodles. When the noodles were served, he had to put the meat into Suqing's bowl. After the two of them finished eating, they got on the bullock cart heading to Sukinglia village. After wandering for more than half an hour, we finally arrived. When we arrived, they were having lunch. There is no breakfast in the farmhouse, so everyone has breakfast at noon, which is only mid-afternoon. "In-laws, are you having dinner?" Sue's father greeted the Kui family. The Kui family members all looked over after hearing the sound. Sukinjao also followed into the courtyard and saw the Kui family, old and young, sitting around two tables eating in the courtyard, except for her sister and Yaya. Searched around. "In-laws, why are you here?" Old man Kui stood up blankly. "Hey, I'm just on the way, come and see King Liu." "Where are you eating?" Sue's father glanced around the table and frowned when he didn't see King Liu. "Yeah, we're having dinner. Let's have some food together, shall we?" Old man Kui also noticed Sue's father's appraising eyes, which made him feel a little uncomfortable. No, we have breakfast in town. You can eat it?" Sukingnao looked around, but she didn't see her sister. She saw that her father was just beating him up to save his face, but she had no intention of doing so. She asked coldly, "Where are my sister and Yaya? This family eats together, but they are alone. Missed my sister?" "Well, she. Old man Kui glanced at old woman Kui, speechless. A middle-aged woman next to her replied, "Your sister is slow and her clothes have been washed all morning and she hasn't finished yet. The whole family, old and young, are all hungry. Do you want the whole family to wait for her?" Sukingyu looked at her coldly. "Can Yaya be younger?" The woman was frightened by Sukingyu's cold eyes. She lowered her head, took a chopstick of food to her grandson next to her, and said, "Eat quickly, take your time. Do you want the whole family to wait for you?" Those who criticize Mulberry and Huai, can't they tell when they look at Sukingyu? This family is also amazing. She dared to accuse her sister of being slow. Her sister was the most agile, carrying Yaya on her back without delaying her work. It was obvious that this family did not take her sister seriously. The old and the young can't wait, and the older can't wait either? Sukingyu sneered and strode forward. Just as he was about to wave, Sue's father caught him. Very frightened. This girl is getting more and more aggressive, and she dares to turn over the table at a relative's house. He gave her a hard look. Sukingyu calmed her expression and glanced coldly at the people on the table. The children were all frightened by her eyes. They all lowered their heads and did not dare to eat. "Dad, I'm going to find my sister." She broke away from Sue's father's tight grip on her hand and went out. She didn't bother to take another look at this family and was angry. After being guided by the villagers, she came to a river. From a distance, she could see her sister squatting on a stone slab by the river, washing clothes. There was a large wooden basin next to it. There was half a basin of unwashed clothes, and a lot of washed clothes were piled on the stone slab. This amount of clothes was enough for the whole family. Throw it to her sister. Looking at her sister again, while washing, she turned back to take a look at Yaya. Talking to Yaya from time to time, "Yaya, be good, Mom is doing the laundry." After a while, Mom is done washing, and she will take Yaya home for dinner. Looking at Yaya again, her sister tied her little waist with a rope, and then tied her to a tree nearby. Then Yaya sat under the tree and played with the tips of the grass, her face and hands covered with mud. Suking Nao's nose felt sore and she suddenly wanted to cry. He raised his head and blinked away the tears, calling softly, "Sister." Sukinglea was busy doing laundry while talking to Yaya, but didn't hear her. Sukingyu shouted again, and she looked up blankly. Ching Hao, she thought she had seen it wrong, and stood up blankly, blinking a few times without putting down the clothes in her hands. "Why? What a young lady! Why are you here?" Sukinglea put down her clothes, wiped her hands on the hem of her clothes, and took 2 steps towards her. "Sister, just stand there and don't move. I'll come over." Sukinjeo didn't walk towards her in a hurry, but walked towards Yaya and untied the rope from her waist. Yaya seemed to still remember her. She looked at her intently for a while and then grinned at her. "Ah, Yaya remembers Auntie, right?" He picked her up and bumped her up. It had only been a few days and she had lost weight again. "I'm asking you, why are you here?" Something happened at home. Sukinglea was a little flustered, and her family wouldn't come over anytime soon. "No, everything is fine at home." He hugged Yaya and teased her. "Then why are you here? As soon as your brother-in-law left, you let him go? Aren't you afraid that your in-laws will say something about you?" "What can you say about me? It's not like your husband's family. The whole family doesn't even wait for you at dinner." Sukinglea was silent. Are you home?" Sukingneo rolled her eyes at her and said, "Dad is here too. He's in the courtyard." "Ah, Daddy is here? Why is Daddy here?" He was so anxious that he turned around and took the basin back. Sukingyu walked over and held her down. "Why are you in a hurry? You wash slowly and let Dad talk to them. Dad is there to see if they can still eat. The whole family is eating, so you can do it alone. It's so cool to work. There are even half-grown girls at home, but no one is here to help you. It's really up to you to do it alone. Someone has to do the work at home. There are only a few acres of land left, so what can we eat if we don't fight for it? There is no separation of families, so we all live with our uncle and aunt in the big house. If we don't do more, others will have to talk." Sukinglea defended in a low voice while beating her clothes. "Sister, you really, don't let you do the work, but I can't let you do it all by yourself. I won't let you rest until mealtime. Is this something that ordinary people can do?" Sukinglea stopped talking. "Yaya is a girl. If it were a boy, her grandparents might still take some care of her." Sukingneo looked at her squatting there, her eyes blank, but her men didn't stop, and she let out a long sigh. Half hugging Yaya, he drew water from the river and washed her hands and feet. "Yaya, you have turned into a dirty cat. I can hardly recognize you." As soon as Yaya met the water, she giggled and twisted her body to go into the river, dipping her little feet into the water. Sukinglea looked at her daughter and smiled. He said to Sukinjeo, "You have to hold her tight. This girl really likes to play in the water. I didn't tie her up before, so I just put her next to me and looked at her so close. I didn't know she would slip away." She went into the water, choked on the water and didn't cry, and insisted on playing in the water. After playing, she refused to get up, and she still cried when I took her home. Isn't that right? Yaya likes to play with water so much. Seeing the little thing twisting her body to get into the water, Sukingyu rolled up her trousers, took off her straw sandals, picked her up from her armpits, and carried her into the water. When her feet reached the water, she lifted her up and went back and forth. Play with her. Not only was the little thing not afraid, it kept laughing, fluttering its little feet, and splashing water at her. Sukinglea watched while washing, laughing and scolding Sukingyu for looking like a child who would not grow up. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bha Jiaoye 11U. Chapter 56. After the two sisters finished washing the clothes, they returned to Kui's house and found that Su's father had already talked with Old Man Kui and Old Lady Kui. It was considered a secret division of the family. On the surface, the family was still together, but in order to deal with conscription and taxation, they would not tell anyone. But Old Man Kui's eldest son's branch was left with only his mother and daughter at home. He didn't know when he would become old or no longer be around. He was afraid that his eldest grandson's wife and daughter would be treated badly by his sons and daughters-in-law, so he listened to Su's father and divided the family. He also wanted to make a good relationship. No matter which one of him and Old Lady Kui was left in the future, Su Qinglia would definitely take care of him or her. Su Qingmei was very satisfied. She felt that Old Man Kui was still a sensible person. He and his wife still had to rely on their sons and daughters-in-law for their old age. Su Qingmei could understand that they turned a blind eye to it and didn't bother him. He also said on behalf of Su Qinglia, when my business is successful in the future, I will pay my sister more wages, not less. Then let my sister be filial to you. Her parents-in-law are gone, and it is her duty to take care of you in your old age. That's right. I think so too. I will also remind her in the future to buy cloth to make clothes and shoes for you during festivals and give you money for your old age. She will not do less than what she should do, don't worry. Her mother and I will remind her. Su's father agreed. Old Man Kui nodded with sobs. He is old, first sent away his eldest son and daughter-in-law, and then sent away his eldest grandson. Now the two people left in the first house are also leaving home for the town. The old man is very disappointed. He just wants the whole family to be together, even if they have to eat coarse food, he will feel at ease when he sees the whole family under his nose. Wiping away tears, he hugged Yaya. Yaya, be good and obedient. Come back to see Grandpa and Grandma when you have time. The old man was reluctant to part with this only fourth generation. If the eldest grandson was gone, this would be the only blood left by the eldest son. Yaya may have seen that there were more people in the family today, so she jumped excitedly on her grandfather's thigh, humming, and didn't know what to say. Su Qinglia was stunned. What was going on? She washed clothes and her father helped her divide the family. Can she take Yaya to eat by herself in the future? She doesn't have to hand in the money she earns. Her sister is going to take her to the town? Her sister is going to open a shop? Who will tell her what happened? Old Kui stood aside, stroking Yaya and crying. Seeing Su Qinglia in a daze, he came over to pull her. You must come back often, come back to see me and your grandfather. You have to take care of yourself and Yaya when you are alone outside. When Yaya's father has a letter, I will send your grandfather to the town to tell you. Su Qinglia nodded her head and shed tears. The expressions of other people in the courtyard changed. The death message of Mang Zhong has not been sent back yet, and her father is going to take her away. Why did her father agree? After the family is divided, won't the money earned by Su Qinglia fall into her own pocket? Just as the second daughter-in-law of Kui Laohan was about to speak, Su Qing'an noticed and gave her a cold look. Said, in the future, I will let her take half of my sister's wages back until she pays off her wedding expenses. In the future, I will also give Yaya's grandfather and grandmother pension money every year. When the shop is free, I will also let my sister come back to see. That's good, that's good. Old Man Kui hugged Yaya tightly, as if he was afraid that he would not see her in the blink of an eye. Su Qinglia still couldn't believe it until he walked out of the village. Looking back at the village, the green grass on both sides of the village road suddenly seemed unreal. Dad, what did you say to Grandpa and Grandma? Uncle and Aunt didn't make a fuss, Su Qinglia asked Su's father. Su's father was a little proud. He himself couldn't believe it was so smooth. Why didn't they make a fuss? But they were just afraid of losing your labor and worried that the money they borrowed for your marriage would go down the drain. Dad said that he would let you send money back every month and return the money for your grandparents' retirement. Your grandparents also helped to speak, and it was settled. Suchingen saw his father's face of disbelief and felt that it seemed too smooth, so he smiled. Said, the main reason is that they had dinner today, but my sister was the only one missing. Yaya's grandparents felt guilty in front of Dad. They were afraid that our family would say that his family abused you. If they made a fuss, it would not look good for his family. Suchingen looked at the bag on Sukingliu's back and sighed in his heart. The mother and daughter only had such a bag, which contained everything. I hope her sister will be happy in the future and raise Yaya a little fatter. It was not until they returned to the town and Sukingliu was settled in the backyard of the shop by Sukingmei that she really felt that she had left that home. Her eyes could not help but turn red. Sukingmei saw that her sister had turned her back, and after a moment of silence, she took out 2 taels of silver. Sister, take this silver to buy some bedding and kitchen supplies. My cousin will come over in a few days, and you two can eat in the shop. My father and I will go to the nearby village to check out the goods later. Father Su looked at the 2 taels of silver and felt a little uncomfortable. This should be the money he, as a father, gave to settle his eldest daughter, but he was short of money. I'll go with you. No, it's not convenient for you to take Yaya with you. Let's stay in the shop. You can keep an eye on the workers who are decorating. There are some things that need to be purchased in the backyard, so you can help me buy them. I may be out for the next few days, so if you think anything is missing, just buy it. If you don't have enough money, just tell me. Sukingliu nodded in response, and Suchingen and Su's father got up and walked out. Seeing her father and sister leave the shop and disappear, Sukingliu hugged Yaya and smiled, Yaya, we will live with your aunt in the town from now on. We will help your aunt open a shop to earn money. Are you happy? Yaya jumped a few times in her arms, grinning to express her excitement. There are so many people and shops in the town, and the little thing can't see enough. On the other side, Sukingmei and Su's father hired a carriage and ran to various villages. Su's father was very familiar with the villages near the town, and took her to run from village to village. After 2 days of holding it in, he finally couldn't help asking her, my daughter, how did you think of opening such a shop? Don't people go to the vegetable market to pick? There are so many varieties and complete, why do you have to go to your shop to buy? You charge such a high price for the goods, can you make money? Since Su's father heard that Sukingmei was going to open a shop, he was worried. He was worried that his child would not be able to make money, and that if she ran out of money, she would have to look after her parents-in-law. As a parent, he was not able to help her. He was so worried that he could not sleep well. Sukingmei thought about it and asked him, Dad, why do you think I can't make money? Father Su was stunned. Although he wanted his daughter to make money, he still helped her analyze it. Well, think about it. If your purchase price is the same as the selling price in the vegetable market, then you must sell it at a higher price than in the vegetable market. If you sell it at a higher price, who will come to your shop to buy? If no one comes to buy, how can you make money? Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bhjiao 11U. Chapter 57. Sukinjao smiled. What she wanted to do was never a business for ordinary people, and selling vegetables was just the first step, just to attract traffic. Dad, let me ask you, if I collect vegetables in the countryside at the same selling price in the town, do you think the villagers will sell them to me? That's for sure. He picked it out by himself. Not to mention it was tiring and miserable. It might cost more to get to the town, he would have to be charged protection fees, there would be losses on the road, and there would be people picking through the leftovers that wouldn't be sold. If I sell it to you at the same price, you can save a lot of trouble and make a little more money, so people are willing to sell it to you. Sukhinjao smiled after hearing this. Dad, if you say so, we won't be afraid of not receiving the goods this time. Sue's father was a little confused. No, you still haven't said whether you can make money. After collecting so many goods, if you can't sell them, won't you lose money? Sukhinyu was coming out of a village with her father. After hearing this, she smiled and said, Dad, what I do is not a business for ordinary people. You don't want to do business for ordinary people? Then you still want to do business for a wealthy family. Everyone has land, a village, and servants. You don't have to worry about these things. You can't even get in. You kid is really big-hearted. Why? I want to do business with a wealthy family. Sue's father was worried again. Sukhinjao smiled, of course I want to do business with wealthy families, but not at this stage. At this stage, I only do business with the group of people between ordinary people and wealthy families. The people in the middle. Yes. Dad, let me ask you, what kind of people are my father-in-law and mother-in-law? What kind of people are they? Are they the people in the middle you mentioned? Sukhinyu smiled and nodded. Dad, think about it, my stepmother-in-law is such a picky person. The money to buy vegetables for Aunt Jo costs a copper coin by a copper coin. She will be questioned again and again when she comes back. Do you think if there is someone? The price of vegetables sold in the shop is about the same as outside. Do you think she will go to the shop to buy it in person? Will she? Yes. She thinks the market is dirty, it will stain her clothes, shoes, and socks, and she says it smells bad. But if there is such a store that can solve her problems, she is willing to go and buy it herself. And Aunt Jo became the one who carried things for her. She happened to enjoy the situation of being served by a servant girl. Father Su frowned, would these people really go to the shop to buy groceries? Then I heard Sukhinjao say, furthermore, Dad, if your family has a small population but some wealth, and wants to eat good food every meal, how do you think she should buy a table of vegetables? Is it a whole meal, just chicken, duck, goose, or a big fish? It's summer, and there's no place to hide it. If you can't finish it, it might taste rancid. Sue's father thought, it's really difficult to arrange with a small number of people. We have a big family, and if you kill a chicken, you have to eat it in 2 or 3 days. And it's really hard to put things away. That's right. Eating a whole chicken or duck is expensive and you can't finish it all. It will go bad if you leave it. If there is a store, they can help you kill it and clean it so that you can buy it in half, or half of half. Or just buy 1 or 2 tails to satisfy my craving. Dad, do you think anyone will buy it? Sue's father was stunned. Can he still buy chickens and ducks like this? Don't everyone buy them whole? They are all furry, so kill them when you get home. He also heard his daughter say, there are also those special families, such as the family is average, but there is a scholar in the family, and you want to give him good food, or there is a confinement person in the family, and you want to give her good food, but every meal it feels bad to cook a chicken. For a family like this, do you think they would choose to buy only half, or 2 or 3 tails? Like the meat stall, those who have money will buy more, or those who have no money will buy less. Are you buying some water to relieve your cravings? Sue's father said uncertainly, if there is a confinement person in the family, if you can't finish the whole one, the whole family can eat it together. What if the family conditions are average? Dad, don't you feel bad eating a chicken for 1 meal? Feeling distressed? Why don't you feel bad? A whole chicken with feathers on it costs 25 cents a pound, which is more than 5 pounds, and the big ones weigh more than 10 pounds. It makes me feel sad to eat one at a meal. Sukhinyu knew it clearly when she saw her father's appearance. People in the middle class want to eat well, but they don't have that much money and are not willing to eat well every meal. Even if there is meat in every meal, it doesn't necessarily have to be a lot, or they want a variety of ingredients on the table, so they don't ask for a large amount of each item. If the meat is sold in pieces, there will be a market. And these days, chickens and ducks are sold whole with their feathers on. Some people who are very particular don't dare to kill them when they take them home, and secondly, they find them too dirty and too tidy. They have to clean up the house afterward, and the smell of the small place can't be dissipated for a day. So Sukingyu wants to split the market. At the vegetable market, she saw that fish were killed and cleaned, but chickens, ducks and other poultry were not killed and feathered. Seeing her father thoughtfully, he added, "Our town is quite a big town. Not to mention the villages under its jurisdiction, there are hundreds of households in the town. Even if I only earn a penny from selling a pound of vegetables a day, I only earn a penny. For a single dish, if you sell 1,000 caddies, you can get 1 tael of silver. Even if you sell it for only 500 caddies, you can still get 500 taels of silver, which is more than 10 taels a month after deducting the rent and 3 labor costs. I still have a few taels left in January. For another example, if you sell 20 chickens and ducks a day and earn 5 cents each, you will get 100 cents a day, which means 3 taels a month. Right, Dad? If you think about it this way, I dare not say more. I should have 10 taels a month. You can earn it?" Sue's father was not that good at arithmetic. After hearing these words, he quickly calculated in his mind. Sukingyu laughed. He added, "It's 12 months in January, that's why I call it a small business. And I don't have to go to the countryside to collect goods, villagers will deliver them to my door. I save transportation costs, and it's just rent and labor costs. So I earn in January a few taels is enough for my expenses. I'll do something bigger later." Father Su looked at this girl intently. How could this girl become so enlightened without saying a word? He actually knows so many things. Seeing that she spoke clearly and eloquently, he was stunned. From what she said, if you don't stock up on goods, you won't buy too much. If you sell them all in a day or two, you won't lose much money. You can see a day's profit in one day. If you really lose money, you can stop in time. Put it this way, how successful is this business? Sukingyu comforted him, "Don't worry, Dad, I know what I know. Then I will pack the dishes into small portions, so they don't have to pick them and avoid losses. The guests can just take them and leave. The broken ones can be replaced at your door. Even though my food is more expensive than at the market, because the store is clean and the service is good, there will be no trouble and someone will come to my door. And I can also customize and match them. I can also find what they want to eat in advance, and someone will be willing to come and buy it. For example, those who are widowed, lonely, old, weak, sick, or disabled, or widows or women who are inconvenient to go out. When the time comes, I will deliver to your door. I will charge you 1 or 2 cents more. Dad, do you think they will be willing?" What she sells is a service that allows customers to have a good experience, save worry and trouble, and is not expensive. She believed that there would be business, and she would be able to stop in time if she suffered a loss. And she had other plans. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bhaya 11U. Chapter 58. After being explained by Sukingyu, Sue's father's last doubts were eliminated. Du happily went to the next village with Sukingyu. As soon as I entered the village, I saw a salesman being chased. Take his burden and don't let him run away. Don't even think about leaving once he's here, several vicious villagers shouted as they chased him. Sue's father shook his head. Hey, these days, in a domineering village, not only the salesman can't make any money, but also his burden has been robbed, and he may even be injured if he loses his money. Sukinjao frowned. It was really annoying to meet unruly people. He was about to tell the man driving the carriage to stay out of the way, but he felt that the salesman looked familiar. Take a closer look. Oh, doesn't it look familiar? Dad, it's Sudahu. Huh? Dahu. The father and daughter grabbed the car frame and looked towards the side of the trouble. Sudahu didn't recognize them. When he saw someone coming, he hurriedly ran to them for help. I ran in a hurry, and a lot of things in my load shook and spilled out. Some people from behind squatted down to pick it up when they saw it. Some people stopped when they saw someone coming, but there were still 2 or 3 people chasing after it. Seeing that he was being closely chased, Sukingyu opened the car door and shouted, "Brother Big Tiger, this way." Sudahu looked up and recognized it. He rushed over in a few steps, threw the load on the carriage, and the people climbed up. Su's father and Sukingyu hurriedly helped him take the burden and helped him get into the car. As soon as the people came up, the carriage drove away immediately. Sukingyu looked outside and saw the people outside chasing after a few steps but couldn't catch up, so she stopped, cursed a few angrily on the spot, turned around and knelt down to pick up the items that fell on the ground, and then came over again. "Let's share the dirt together." He breathed a sigh of relief. Sudahu glanced outside with some fear, then lay down on the carriage and breathed heavily. When his breathing subsided, he raised his head and glanced at Su's father gratefully, and then looked at Sukingyu with surprise and something else in his eyes. Su's father helped him up and asked, "Dahu, why do you become a salesman?" Sukingyu saw him looking at her steadily, avoided his eyes and looked at his burden. A lot of things were scattered in the load, and the remaining things were in a mess, mostly needles, thread, handkerchiefs, hairpins, flowers, sugar and salt snacks, etc. Sudahu's eyes darkened when he saw that Sukingyu was not looking at him. He glanced at his burden and felt pain in his heart. "Not only did I not earn any money today, I also lost a lot of money." Seeing Su's father asking, he said sadly, "I heard that Ching's father-in-law started his career as a salesman." Father Su was stunned. Sukingyu looked at him, remembering that the day before her wedding, Sudahu asked her if she could wait for him, saying that he could also earn 50 taels, and sighed. "I said I haven't seen you these days. It turns out you are working as a peddler. How long have you been doing this? Have you made money?" Su's father came back to his senses and asked. Sudahu glanced at Sukingyu and said, "I have been doing this for a while, and I also made some money before. On a good day, I can earn dozens of cash, and sometimes I can earn 100 cash. Like today there are some in other villages, but they just don't give money, and they don't just come up and grab the burden like this." Sukingyu was silent. He must have been a salesman since she got married. The total income earned in these days may not be enough for the goods lost today. Poor mountains and rivers breed unruly people. It seems that we should avoid coming to this village to receive goods in the future. Su's father looked regretful. "You didn't earn any money, and you almost lost your burden. Fortunately, you are okay. Fortunately, you met us. Otherwise, not only would the burden be snatched away, but given the attitude of those people, they would still have to snatch it from you if you don't have enough money. I might even give you a beating. Even a beating is considered a light thing, but I'm afraid that if someone is caught, the family will have to pay for it with money." Sukingyu slandered. Su's father was a little scared and told Sukingyu, "This village is too overbearing. In the future, you must avoid these villages when receiving goods." Sukingyu nodded. I couldn't bear to see Sudahu packing the things in his load with a sad look on his face and a disappointed look on his face. After thinking for a while, he said, "Brother Dahu, why don't you come and help me?" "Okay," Sudahu agreed without thinking. She hasn't said what she wants him to do yet." Su's father was stunned and looked at the two of them, still thinking about the possibility of this. Sukingyu on the other end had already told Sudahua what she wanted to do. Are you going to open a shop? Sudahua couldn't believe it. He had no other abilities. He heard that Sukingyu's father-in-law started out as a salesman, so he wanted to follow suit and earn more money. He couldn't be underestimated. But now he never thought that before he had earned any money, he would open a shop with a prostitute. He could barely keep up with him. Sudahua was a little stunned. But thinking about the opportunity to get close to her and look at her up close, he was very willing. Okay, I'll help you. What do you want me to do? Sukingyu didn't expect that he deserved it so quickly. From now on, you can go down to the village to help me collect some vegetables, fruits, eggs, poultry, etc., and I will calculate the money for you according to different categories. As for what you collect in the village, I don't care what the price is, you take the difference and I just settle the bill with you. Su's father was stunned. Did he divide the purchasing business? But looking at Sudahua, I saw that this kid was honest and knew the basics. He and his mother were relieved to leave this piece to him. Then he said, if you do this well, it's no worse than walking around the streets and working as a salesman in the countryside. And with your young prostitute to take care of it, you don't have to worry about or risk selling. Why don't you give it a try, help your sister, she is short of manpower now. Sudahua agreed to help Sukingyu without any explanation from Su's father. Now after listening to what his father and daughter said, he actually felt that this business was better than his job as a salesman. After working as a salesman for more than 10 days, he felt that he could not do business alone. No money was made, and the goods were running out. From now on, with the young lady behind his back, he can just help her. Okay, I'll go help you. Sukingyu smiled at him. Tell him about what she needs, how he wants to purchase it, how he wants to negotiate with farmers, how he wants to make a contract, and how he wants to balance the daily amount of vegetables. After negotiating an agreement with the farmers, we set the daily kilograms of vegetables with them, and they must be picked fresh on the same day. In order to avoid being constrained by farmers' price increases in the future, we can stock up on chickens and poultry to avoid shortages. Su's father nodded repeatedly, that's okay, but can your shop's backyard support so many? Feed my family. My family has a lot of space, so I will feed it, Sudahua said. Su's father felt relieved and patted him on the shoulder. Sukingyu also nodded to him gratefully, planning to give him the price of the grain in the future so that he could not lose money. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bhaya 11U. Chapter 59. Su's father also wanted to do something for his daughter, and said, Dad, when he comes to our village, I will help you ask. We are all from the same village. It's not easy to pull out the girl if you can. Sukingyu nodded, okay, but I won't look at anyone's face. I will only accept the good ones, and I will definitely not take the defective ones. At that time, Brother Dahua will also go to each house to look at the goods, and Brother Dahua will set the price. Okay, Dad will tell them. The three of them then went to several villages. Sudahua followed Sukingyu to see how she negotiated prices with others and how she persuaded farmers who were originally unwilling to sell their goods to her. I admire her even more in my heart. I also learned a lot, and gradually a smile appeared on my face. It wasn't until sunset that the three of them separated at the entrance of the town. Sukingyu asked the carriage to take them back to Kyoto village, while he turned around and went to the shop. When they arrived at the backyard of the shop, they saw that her sister was already busy cooking in the kitchen, and Yaya was sitting obediently on the small bench in front of the stove, playing with herself. Sister, Yaya. Hey, you're back. Where's Dad? Dad has returned to the village. Yaya saw her and grinned at her. Sukingyu picked her up and threw her up. The little thing laughed so hard that she clapped her hands. When she put her down, She was not happy and twisted her body to ask for it. Sukingyu carried her around the kitchen and looked around. She felt relieved when she saw that the kitchen had been tidied up by her sister and all the things that needed to be added had been added. From now on, her sister and Yaya no longer need to look at other people's faces when eating. They can cook whatever they want, and they don't have to be secretive if they want to make something delicious for Yaya. Seeing her looking at her, Sukingyu said to her, "I have bought everything for the kitchen, and bought 2 beds for bedding. The other room has also been decorated, so my cousin can live there when he comes." "Kinglao, sister, I want to thank you. My sister has been so happy today, and Yaya has been jumping around happily all day long, dragging me along and wanting to go to the street." "Really? Yaya, I've never seen so many people." Sukingyu teased her. She turned back to her sister and said, "Sister, my sister, there is no need to say those polite words. You and Yaya have a happy life, which is better than anything else. Parents can also rest assured. You live here alone at night, so you have to be more alert. Lock the doors. Don't worry. I will close the doors and windows. There are residents around here, it's okay." "That's good." After seeing that her sister had prepared dinner and there was nothing for her to worry about, she turned and returned to Lu's house. As soon as we got home, it was time for dinner. She went directly to the main room. Father Lu, Mrs. Wu and several of her children were all there. Before she could eat, Mrs. Wu stared at her and asked, "I heard you are going to open a shop." Lu Yizhu heard this for the first time and looked at her in surprise. "Ah, you are going to open a shop? Where will the money come from? Dad, did you give her money?" Lu Shenke was a little dissatisfied with Lu Yizhu's attitude. He frowned and shouted, "What the hell? Is this your attitude when talking to your eldest sister-in-law?" Sukingyu glanced at her and ignored her, so naturally he would not respond to her words. Lu Yizhu was used to being arrogant, and her relatives in her hometown ignored her, let alone the woman Lu Bachan married. Seeing that she didn't answer, he raised his voice and asked, "You are deaf and didn't hear what my mother and I asked you? You come from the countryside and you want to open a shop? What kind of shop do you open? Where do you get the capital? Our family hasn't even been separated yet, and you're already trying to put money into your own pocket." Lu Shenke slapped his chopsticks on the table. "Lv Yizhu, pay attention to the attitude of your words." Lu Bozong was startled by Lu Shenke's loud shout and trembled. Lu Bozu squinted his eyes and looked at Sukingyu. He had never looked at this woman carefully before. A woman from the countryside who doesn't know a single word still wants to be the eldest sister-in-law? Do you know how to be a mediator, know how to be a director, or are you good at dancing? The lady he will look for in the future who can read and write and be the director of the family will be Yizhu Bozong's eldest sister-in-law. Lu Yizhu was scolded and refused. "Dad. Then what do you think of her attitude? She didn't answer my mother's questions." Sukingyu looked at her calmly. "It's not that I didn't answer, it's because you grabbed my tongue." "You." Sukingyu glanced at her coldly and looked away. "I treat others as they treat me. Nothing wrong. Stay down and be small." "I'm sorry, she doesn't know how." When Mrs. Wu saw Lu Shenke scolding Yizhu because of an outsider at the dinner table, she was even more dissatisfied with Sukingyu. Although Lu Shenke told her that he had never given Sushi any money to open a shop, nor had he given Lu Bachan any money, she just didn't believe it. When the bride was being betrothed, her step-grandmother's eyes lit up when she heard 50 taels. He looked like he had never seen the world. "I'm afraid the Su family has never saved 50 taels. This country woman wants to open a shop as soon as she gets married? No one would believe it if they said it was given by the Su family. She went to the shop today to check the accounts for the whole day, and the clerk read it to her for a long time. After listening to it, she didn't find out that Lu Shenke had taken any money from the shop. So where does this woman get the money to open a shop? So brave. I just got married, and I don't want to serve my parents-in-law at home. I want to show off to the outside world. She also asked Aunt Jo to make clothes for the country grandma, and for nothing, Aunt Jo's family received a sum of wages. Su Qingyu glanced at Wu and her daughter and said, I told my father about this. I haven't paid the rent for the shop yet, so they gave me a 2-month extension. As for the cost of my shop, it was left to me by Bo Cheng. As for me, he has only saved a dozen taels of silver in the past 10 years. Lu Yizhi shook his head and said, he only saved a dozen taels? Who believes it? Su Qingyu raised her lips and said, believe it or not, you can go and take a look. None of his valuable things can be found in our room. All the things put together may not be worth as much as bulletin yao on my sister's head. He spent it? He often asked my father for money. If he didn't lie to me, then he doesn't ask for money as often as you do, right? None of the clothes, shoes, or socks in his suitcase is valuable. And he has the land left to him by his grandfather's family, and he pays for the rent. With it at home, he should be the one who spends the least money in the family. Lu Shenke thought of his eldest son who was away and was silent. Who cares about their Lu family's rent money? That money is not even enough to support himself. Whether it's enough or not is another matter, it's better than taking half a penny home and still taking it out. My family is rich, I eat my food and use my family, but you are jealous. I'm afraid you can't afford it if you want. I'm afraid your mother's family won't be able to make you a set of clothes all year round. Lu Yizhu, Lu Shenke shouted. Su Qingyu looked coldly at Lu Yizhu, who was about to jump into a rage, and said coldly, my parents' family is poor, so I want to earn it by myself now. What's wrong with earning money with your own hands and spending it on your own? Wu didn't expect that this newly married country woman would dare to be disrespectful to her mother-in-law at the dinner table, and dare to argue with her sister-in-law in front of her parents-in-law. Wu took a closer look at this woman for the first time. I think she may have underestimated Su. Su Beizu also said that her niece has the softest temperament, is easy to talk to, and easy to handle. Is this a good idea? The fart is so easy to handle. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bha Jiaoye 11U. Chapter 60. Everyone eat. If you don't want to eat, go back, Lu Shenke shouted loudly. Lu Yizhi glared at Su Qingyu and was so angry that she wanted to leave the table. She didn't want to sit with this woman. But when he just stood up, he was held down by Wu. Didn't you see that your father was getting angry? Lu Yizhu had no choice but to sit back angrily, clinking the dishes. Su Qingyu didn't want to leave the table. If you leave the table, you still have to spend money to eat out. There is a daily quota of food in the kitchen, but not too much. Mrs. Wu was afraid that Aunt Jo would take the leftover meat and vegetables home and buy them by the head. Why not eat for free if you can? Is it because it doesn't taste good or because there's too much money in your wallet? Su Qingyu sat steadily in her position with a calm expression. Lu Shenke glanced at everyone present indifferently and said, I agree with Su's decision to open a shop. She didn't take any money from the family. No one is allowed to say anything in the future. Su, if the shop loses money in the future, you will too. Don't come back and complain about your poverty or act recklessly. Su Qingyu smiled and said, don't worry, Dad. I'll take the blame myself, and I won't come back to cry for poverty. If something goes wrong, I'll solve it myself, so I won't cause trouble for the family. Lu Bozu sneered secretly, a woman wants to do business among men with her bare hands. I hope Mrs. Su will remember what I said today and don't bring trouble home. Don't come back crying when you don't have food to eat. At the dinner table, there was an undercurrent. But this did not affect Su Qingyu's appetite at all. Aunt Jo's cooking skills have improved again. The braised pork she made today is really delicious. Su Qingyu planned to give her some advice another day. She just moves her mouth and gets something delicious, which is great. After eating happily, he said goodbye and went back to his room. Lu Yuzha stared at her the whole time, secretly cursing the country bumpkin. She didn't even have the appetite to eat. If you want to open a shop, go ahead. Don't come back and cry miserably. If you make money, you have to take it home. Who keeps our family from being separated? The next day, when Sukingyu went out, she saw her cousin Zhou Dajiang squatting at the door of Lu's house carrying a big baggage. Big Ginger. Cousin Zhou Dajiang was taking a nap on the baggage. When he heard the call, he turned to look, there was a click and his neck was twisted. Are you okay? It's okay. He rubbed his neck and stood up, staggering a few steps. My legs were numb from lying down for too long. Did you leave home before dawn? Sukingyu looked at his baggage on the ground. Did you bring all the bedding? Hey, the sun is not out, so it's not hot to go. This is really, Sukingyu didn't know what to say. Carrying such a big baggage, we set off before dawn. There was no car on the road, so we walked to the neighboring county on 2 legs. Come on, cousin will take you to have some breakfast. No, my little sister baked pancakes at home and I took them on the road to eat. Zhou Dajiang clutched his bag and refused to go, so Sukingneo had no choice but to take him to the shop. Is Kixia taking care of Jinhai alone at home? Is she okay at home alone? It's okay. She is already 13 years old, and we are going to get married in 2 years. Jinhai is also 5 years old, so she doesn't need to worry too much. The eldest sister will go back to visit occasionally. Sukingyu nodded. A farm girl can help with household chores if she has a good stove. You can use it as an adult at the age of 13. How does your mother eat in the county? Stay in a hospital. My mother rented a room in a small courtyard near the hospital. She can cook there. She cooks it for my father and her. Yesterday I went to the county to tell my parents that I would come to my cousin's place to work. My parents are very happy. Let me work hard and be diligent, don't ask for wages, just let my cousin take care of my food and accommodation. Sukinjeo laughed, then I'm asking you to work for nothing. I'm also willing to work for free. The family still owes money to my cousin. Then I can't let you work for free. I said I would give you the wages if I got them. I will give you a wage increase after my cousin makes money. Well, Mom asked me to learn more with my cousin, watch more, learn more, listen more and talk less. The 2 cousins talked and quickly arrived at the shop. Hey, why does the shop have to be opened in a residential area? Not on Wang Street. Zhou Dajiang looked confused. The shop we open is different from other shops. You will know later. After saying that, he entered the shop. Dajian, you're here. Cousin Kingliu. Hey. You, set out from home before dawn. Sukinjeo laughed, I'm afraid that the sun will come out and it will be difficult to travel in the hot weather. You kid. It's dawn, and there's an ox cart and a horse-drawn carriage, so you might as well take a ride. Seeing Zhou Dajiang standing aside shyly, scratching his head and smiling sheepishly, Sukingneo said to Sukingliu, after walking for so long, he is also hungry. Sister, please give him a bowl of noodles. I will take him home first. Okay. Then you hug Yaya. Okay. Yaya, come here, let me hug you. Why did you get up so early? Did Yaya sleep well last night? Yaya grinned at Sukingneo. Sukingleo smiled and replied, she slept well. She and I didn't wake up at night, and we slept until dawn. It's very quiet here, and sleeping makes people feel at ease. That's good. When he arrived at the backyard, Zhou Dajiang looked at the neat new beds and bedding in the neat backyard, and he was very happy. Cousin, this place is better than home. After saying that, he put it away by himself without any help from Sukingyu. The yard is made of blue bricks and the roof is made of black tiles. The room has a new bed and new bedding, which is soft and comfortable. The pillows also smell of sunshine. The room is large. In addition to the bed, there is a table and a trunk for luggage. Zhou Dejiang's heart was full. Now his parents didn't have to worry about him. He couldn't wait to get to work right away, and he was full of energy. After Zhou Dejiang was settled, Su Dehu also arrived. All the workers in the shop were finally gathered together. They exchanged a few words and then met together for a small meeting. We brainstormed, broadened our minds, and everyone put forward their own opinions. Su Qingyu thought she had a lot of knowledge, but she didn't expect that after a few indigenous people put forward a lot of opinions, she realized that she took it for granted. The difference in the Millennium Divide is clear. Fortunately, she adjusted her thinking in time. Make the details of the shop more perfect. What she didn't expect was that the three clerks, who had no confidence in their hearts at first, became excited when she said this, and they were eager to open a store and start a big fight. In the next few days, several people were very busy. Those who keep an eye on the renovation progress, those who go to the countryside to collect goods, those who run around doing surveys, those who solicit customers, everyone is too busy to keep their feet off the ground. Several people can't touch each other in a day. Only during dinner time, we went back to the shop and met in the shop to talk about our stall. The meal was settled in the shop as it was close by, and several people discussed the matter while eating. Su Dehu was single and almost lived and ate in a shop. This resulted in Su Qingyu not returning to Lu's house for dinner for several days. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bhaya 11U. Chapter 61. Wu didn't want to see Su Qingyu at home. As soon as she saw Su Qingyu, she remembered the existence of Lu Bachan in this family, which reminded her of the past that she had deliberately forgotten. But when he couldn't see her, she sulked again. Seeing that Su Qingyu didn't even come back for dinner, he became more and more dissatisfied with her. Unable to hold it in anymore, she ran to Lu Shenke to nag her, but Lu Shenke told her to leave it alone. This made Wu sulky a lot. When I couldn't hold it in any longer, I ran outside to talk to a few friends I could talk to. Which family has a young daughter-in-law who doesn't serve her mother-in-law when she gets married? Don't you just take advantage of the low prices and serve the whole family? He even went out to hide away. Still open a shop? Not only did the daughter of a forager in the countryside marry and become a young mistress, she also opened a shop. A few of her friends shared her hatred, which made her feel much more comfortable. Thinking about how many years it took her to follow Lu Shenke, she followed Lu Shenke for several years after taking advantage of the lows before living the life she has now. Why did she come from the countryside? Su didn't get married, so she had a lot of sewing ready for her to do. She thought that she could do the sewing in the house without having to go to town. Would you like to live in peace and quiet in the country? It depends on whether she agrees or not. Who would have thought that before she even used her mother-in-law tricks, Ms. Su would no longer want to stay at home contentedly. I met a few friends who came up with a lot of ideas, but none of them hit the mark. Wu was so angry that she ran to Su Qingyu's shop to have a look. When I looked at it, I saw that her shop was quite large and well organized, which made me feel more and more breathless. I thought she came from the countryside and worked alone. She couldn't find the location of the god of wealth, so she still wanted to open a shop. You don't know how to write the word shop, do you? Just open a shop. Do you know how to read a ledger? Do you know accounting? Can you handle interpersonal relationships? And manpower is so easy to find? Just waiting to see the joke. Unexpectedly, when I came here to take a look, I saw that Su seemed to have recruited all the people, and the shop was almost renovated and was waiting to be opened. It almost made her angry. In the evening, he pinched Lu Shenke and asked him if he had helped. Are there no mother and son in my eyes? Are they still thinking about the first one and the son born to the first one? What are you talking about? Lu Shenke looked confused. Otherwise, how can she, a woman, know how to rent a shop, how to find craftsmen for decoration, and how to calculate costs? Lu Shenke must have given the capital to Sue's business, rented a shop for her, and opened up doorways. He was thinking about the first one in his mind. What are you talking about? I didn't do anything. You can only believe it. You didn't do anything. She came from the countryside. How long has she been married and she already knows how to open a shop? Believe it or not, AI. She manages it all by herself. I haven't even visited her shop. I do not believe. Believe it or not. Sleep or not, or I'll sleep. Lu Shenke saw her staying motionless at the head of the bed, pushed her away and went straight to bed. Wu stared at his background and almost made a hole in his eyes. Su Qingnao had no idea about Wu's troubles. After a few days of busy work, her Fengting convenience shop is finally about to open. On the day of the opening, Su Qingyu left Lu's house at dawn and walked to the shop. Before arriving at the shop, I saw a pair of grandfather and grandson squatting at the door of the shop, eating hard biscuits from a distance. Uncle Zhao. Hey, boss. When the old man Zhao saw Su Qingyu, he hurriedly pulled his two grandchildren to stand up. The two children also called him boss. Why didn't you knock on the door when you came? You stood at the door. This makes us so embarrassed. It's okay, we country people don't pay that much attention. It's not raining here, the weather is nice, and there are eaves, so why not stand at the door? Su Qingyu smiled helplessly. He looked at the two grandchildren standing next to him, smiled at them, and then looked at their burdens. The three people came over with two full loads, including vegetables, fruits, chickens and ducks, eggs and duck eggs, small baskets, small straw bags, and packed them neatly. Su Qingyu nodded to them with satisfaction. Take them around the backyard and knock on doors. Soon Sudahu came and opened the door. Help put their dishes on the food rack. Su Qingnao led their grandfather and grandson around the shop. Old man Zhao was amazed. I didn't expect vegetables, chicken and duck to be sold like this, so clean and neat. Even I am willing to come to a shop like this to buy. His two grandchildren also followed behind and nodded. At this time, Su Qingliu and Zhou Daijiang also got up, and breakfast was served. Su Qingyu invited old man Zhao and his two grandchildren to eat together. The old man refused again and again. Later, Su Qingyu failed to show his kindness, and he and his two grandchildren ate a bowl of noodles each with fear, and thanked him profusely. My granddaughter's name was changed by her boss 2 days ago. I've been introducing her new name to everyone these days. I'm so happy. When his granddaughter heard this, she lowered her head shyly, got up, quickly collected the dishes and chopsticks from her grandfather and grandson, and went to the kitchen to wash them. Su Qingyu looked at her back and smiled. These two grandsons were the same grandsons that Su Qingjao met at the vegetable market the day after they got married, and Huabao and others received a protection fee of 50 yuan. Su Qingyu kept paying attention to them, but never saw them in the vegetable market again. Unexpectedly, she went to the countryside 2 days ago and met these three grandparents. Seeing that his family was in trouble and his son and daughter-in-law were gone, the old couple lived with a pair of grandchildren. They couldn't do much work in the fields, so they grew vegetables and raised some chickens and ducks in exchange for some copper coins. Since the protection fee was collected, I dare not go to town to sell it again. Su Qingyu made an agreement with him to collect his fruits, vegetables, and poultry. His two grandchildren, the older one is called Zhao Mankang, 13 years old, and the younger one is called Zhao Ziliang, 11 years old. They are both diligent children. Mankang and fine grains put a lot of expectations on the villagers. They just wanted to have a full warehouse of grain so that they could eat fine grains every day. At that time, so King Nao was quite emotional after hearing this. Seeing that the girl was quick at work and good looking, she felt that it was not nice to call a girl Ziliang and it would be better to call her Xiniang. It was just a joke at the time. Unexpectedly, his family actually took it seriously and changed their granddaughter's name to Xiniang. When 11 Niang came back after washing the dishes, Su Qingliu took her to Su Qingyu and praised her, "This child is very nimble. He washed all our dishes and even cleaned up the kitchen for me." Su Qingyu liked her very much and said to her, "I like the straw baskets and bags made by your grandma very much. I will make more with you when I go back. I want them all." Zhao Xiniang nodded happily and said she would make it up when she got home. Old man Zhao never thought that worthless straw and reeds in the countryside could be made into things and sold for money. His old woman can make dozens or hundreds of them in a day. Thinking that these could be sold for money, the old man felt happy. With a smile on his face, "Don't worry, boss, our family will definitely do the work for you carefully." Su Qingyu smiled and nodded, and then asked Xiniang to tell her what she wanted, large, medium and small, how big they were, and what style they were. She also said that no matter what style, it must be strong and durable so that it can be used by other customers. After carrying it for 2 steps, it fell apart. 11 Niang promised again and again that she would do well. Finally the family left happily. And the shop is finally opening. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bha Xiaoye 11U. Chapter 62. At the beginning of the morning, Su King Nao asked Zhou Dejiang to set off a firecracker at the door, and the Fengting convenience shop was officially opened. It's a small business, beating gongs and drums to win people's eyes, etc., but I don't have the money to fix it. We don't even pay the rent for the shop, so it's worth saving. It's just a matter of choosing an auspicious day and auspicious time, and it can be considered as opening the door quietly. The shop is located in a residential area. Those who got up early and those who were not awake were all stunned by the firecrackers. Who is getting married? They crowded out of their homes to watch the excitement. If you go early, you might be able to squeeze in a good seat, and you'll be happy to receive some money and candies. I didn't think about it, how could anyone get married? Shop? When did a shop open here? If you don't open it on Wangjia, open it here? I'm afraid the owner can't afford the rent on Wangjia, right? There are a lot of doubts in the mind of those who are watching the excitement, so let's go in and take a look. Once you get in, it's amazing, it's an eye-opener. The 180 square meter shop is not against the wall. There are 2 rows of vegetable racks in the middle. The wooden racks have several levels. The left and right sides are filled with juicy vegetables. You can choose your favorite vegetables face to face. The varieties of vegetables served on the wooden racks are clear at a glance. Leafy vegetables are bundled with straw half a pound, while other roots, mushrooms, and grass sprouts are packed one by one in straw baskets and bamboo baskets. There is no need to pick them, just pick them up and go. The prices of vegetables are also marked on thick cardboard next to various vegetables. For fear of being illiterate, different numbers of copper plates are also drawn on them to indicate the prices, making it clear at a glance. How fresh! Look at another row of shelves. There are all kinds of eggs, chicken, duck, goose, and bird eggs, which are also put in straw baskets. The eggs are wiped clean and there is no dirt at all. In addition to being placed in baskets, some also use straw to string 5 or 10 strings and hang them on the horizontal rails of the shelves. Can eggs still be strung together? In this way, you won't be afraid of getting it smashed when you carry it a long way, right? Who thought this through so well? Many people gathered in front of the hanging strings of eggs to see how fresh they were. On the innermost wooden shelf, there are various fruits and wild fruits, red, pink, green, yellow, purple, black, they are arranged in a row and look really nice. It opened everyone's horizons again. Only then did everyone realize that they always said there was no fruit to eat. Looking at it this way, it turns out that they have many types of fruits in Fengting Town. How come they haven't seen some of them before? They all gathered around again. Some people looked inside. On the innermost row of cutting boards, there were all kinds of poultry and wild animals and other meats, all of which had their hair and internal organs removed. There is a scale hanging on the rack, and you can cut as much as you need. Weigh the meat on a weighing plate, put it in a straw basket, and you can carry it away. What's strange is that even if the chickens and ducks are feathered, they can still be sold separately. Is it the same as the pork, beef, and mutton shop? Then should I sell it for 2 taels? A woman asked in a low voice. Sell. Sudahu raised his voice and responded. Do you sell 2 taels of chicken? Strange. Another group of women gathered around to watch the fun. Someone started, and the onlookers quickly started shouting in 2s and 3s, for fear that they would be late. I want to rely on chicken wings. I'm going to rely on chicken thighs. I would like the breast. Don't add heads to those chicken necks and feet, I don't want them. Okay. Sudahu responded, cutting the meat quickly without stopping. The chopping board kept clanging, and the onlookers crowded together to watch the fun. When people outside the shop saw that they couldn't come out to watch the excitement, they wanted to go in and have a look. Soon a crowd of people gathered in front of the shop. People from near and far who got the news rushed over again. Sukingyu and others were so busy that they didn't even bother to take a sip of water. Soon the fruits, vegetables, and eggs on several shelves were almost exhausted. Fortunately, she received a lot of goods. When she saw which dish was missing, she immediately asked Zhou Dejiang to go to the backyard to replenish the goods. Wave after wave of residents from surrounding areas came here to try it out. Today's dishes were not expensive. Sukingyu originally thought that the dishes would be sold out the fastest, but unexpectedly, the 20 chickens and ducks killed in the morning were the first to be sold out. Sukingyu tied Yaya to the pillar again. The hands and feet kept running, boiling water, killing chickens and ducks, and removing their feathers. Zhou Dejiang were very busy. Sukingneo was busy checking the situation in the store and collecting coins, and couldn't spare the time to help her. Fortunately, Sue's father and Sue's mother found out that she was opening today, and worriedly came to town to check on the situation. Seeing that my 2 daughters were so busy that they had no time to talk, so they both rolled up their sleeves to help them. As the sun rises, the excitement in the shop has not diminished at all. Residents nearby came to watch the fun. The women who were going to the vegetable market heard that a store specializing in selling vegetables had opened nearby, so they all came over to take a look. When I first saw that the store was clean and hygienic, the dishes were all placed on the shelves, so there was no need to bend down to pick them. There were plenty of fruits, and the meat could be bought separately. I quickly won the hearts of many women. The food in the shop is also replenished frequently. Mrs. Wu also came over with Aunt Jo, and was surprised to see a huge crowd of people in the shop, and those watching the excitement outside were also waiting to get in. After finding a gap, he and Aunt Jo squeezed in. When I saw the appearance of the shop, I was amazed. Aunt Jo was stunned and saw that she was too busy, so she rolled up her sleeves and started to help. But Wu was still looking around in the shop looking at the strange things. Finally Lu Shenke came to see the situation. As a father-in-law, I also want to show my support. As soon as they saw that their in-laws were there, they greeted each other. Seeing the popularity of the shop, Lu Shenke felt relieved. I watched the excitement in the shop, said a few words to Father Su and Mother Su, and then left. Mrs. Wu had seen enough of the excitement, so she picked up a lot of vegetables, fruits, eggs, chicken and duck meat with her straw basket. He took Aunt Zhou and returned home with 2 or 3 straw baskets. Zhou Dejiang came to tell Su Qingnao that she had not paid, but Su Qingnao just waved her hand. She doesn't care about the cost of a meal. If Wu didn't go too far, she was willing to turn a blind eye. Lu Bachan had a share in supporting the family. As his wife, she had no shirk in her responsibility. But if it goes too far, she just can't bear it. In the meantime, shopkeeper Miao and Yang Gui Wuguan of Jixiang shop also came to congratulate her and celebrate her opening the shop. The owner of the shop, Old Man Xie, also came with an old servant and a grandson to watch the fun. After wandering around in wonder for a long time, he finally picked out a lot of fruits for his grandson. The old servant also picked out a lot of vegetables, eggs, and weighed some chicken and duck meat. Su Qingyu gave him a discount, but he was still unhappy. He said that Su Qingyu still owed him rent money, so don't suffer a loss. Su Qingnao smiled and thought this old man was very cute. His grandson had a straight face, looking well-educated, and well-educated. When Uncle Xie saw Su Qingyu looking at his grandson, he lowered his head and said to his grandson, "Pray for blessings, you have to remember the sister. She rents our shop but hasn't paid her yet. If one day my grandfather doesn't remember, you must come and ask for it." The old servant stood nearby and laughed. The master was teasing the young master again. Su Qingyu blushed when he saw his grandson being told this. She thought it was cute, so she pinched his face with her hands. The child, probably because no one had ever done this to him, looked up at her with a red face and a surprised look on his face. Su Qingyu smiled at him and said, "Don't worry, your grandfather doesn't remember, but my sister does. She will definitely not forget to pay your family's rent." Seeing the serious look on the child's face, he asked Old Man Xie again, "This child must be very good at studying, right?" When Old Man Xie heard this, he raised his head very proudly, "That's right, my grandson is very talented." When his father said this, the child glared at his father, then blushed and lowered his head. The old servant came to the rescue with a smile, "Master, now you don't have to worry about not getting the rent back. Judging from the prosperity of this shop, you can definitely earn a lot in a month. This place is not far from our home. From now on, old servant, I just go here to buy groceries, and it saves me a lot of walking." Old Man Xie agreed in his heart, but said, "Where can I make a lot of money? There are not even fish or shrimps in this shop. If you want to eat a fish or a catty of mutton, you have to go to the vegetable market and go to the butcher shop." Tisk tisk. Su Qingyu rolled her eyes at him, "We have just opened, and many of them are not perfect yet. We will have it soon. And we can customize it in the future. For example, if 50 Wen wants leafy vegetables, chicken, eggs, or fruits, we will help you match it according to your needs and deliver it to your door, so you don't have to come over to pick it out." The old servant had a look of surprise on his face. "Ah, how can it be like this? Then the weather is bad, rainy, and thundery, so the old servant is lazy." Old Man Xie glanced at the old servant beside him. He was as old as him, and his legs, feet, and eyesight were no longer working. It would be best if it could be delivered to his door. A proud look on his face, "Humph, who knows if she will cut corners. Let's go, we'll see again later." After saying that, he turned around and left with his hands behind his back. The child named Kia bowed to her and followed his grandfather. The old servant smiled and said a few words to Su Qingyu, praised her for her ideas and told her to do a good job, and then followed suit with the vegetable basket. Su Qingyu smiled and shook her head, then turned back to the shop.